I have been making Eloise some pyjamas. You will have seen me sewing the hem on the sewing machine, and full disclosure here, I have unpicked this twice because my brain is not working properly today. Under here you'll see that I've actually hemmed it by kind of folding in the corner. That's not how you're supposed to do it, but the instructions in the pattern, I couldn't work it out, despite the fact that I've made so many things in my time. But anyway, it's hemmed neatly and securely, so we should be okay. I've just been marking the buttonhole placements on. When I do things like that on fabric, I use one of these. Let's see if I can get that to focus for you. It is a... still not focusing. Still not focusing. It's a friction pen anyway. There we go. Friction pen. And you can get these in the supermarkets. Basically, it irons away. So I've marked where the buttonholes are going to go. So the next job is for me to sew the buttonholes on the sewing machine, and then find some, well, actually I'll have to find some buttons first, because I'll need to know what size the buttons are to make the buttonholes on the sewing machine, and then sew the buttons on. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to sew the buttons on by hand or whether I'm going to sew them on using the sewing machine. I'll see. The trousers to go with them are here, and they are finished apart from the elastic, which needs to go in the waistband here, and they also need hemming at the bottom, but I'm going to try them on Eloise before I hem them, because she is very tall, and so I want to make sure that they are the right length. It's a really lovely pattern. It is the Poppy and Jazz pomegranate pyjamas, which is a fairly new pattern from the children's wear pattern branch of Sew Over It. I'm a massive fan of Sew Over It patterns, and I've made quite a few of the Poppy and Jazz patterns for Eloise, and I thought these were really lovely as a traditional pyjama. I don't get on very well with jersey fabrics, with stretchy fabrics, so making something out of cotton is it's been a really nice thing to do. So I'm going to see if I've got time to do that before I go and collect her from school, and I will catch up with you again later. Okay, so I am about to attempt the dreaded buttonholes. This is just a practice piece of fabric. Obviously this isn't the pyjamas that I'm putting them on. I have got my buttonhole foot on my sewing machine. Let me see if I can... this is dreadful. Let me see if I can show you a little bit better here. This is really difficult. Okay, so here's my buttonhole foot. The way that this is supposed to work is you're supposed to put a button in the top, and this is the button that I put in the top, and then that sort of alters the space between this part of the foot and this part of the foot, so that your machine, or my machine being a computerized machine, will know how long the buttonhole needs to be. But problem number one is, over the years I've realized that if you put the button in there, close the foot around the button, and then sew your buttonhole, the buttonhole is too big and it ends up gaping. So what I do is I pop my button in to the foot, then I extend the foot by a couple of notches, take the button out, and then push it back in by one notch more than the number of notches that I had pulled it out, if that makes sense, so that I get the right size buttonhole. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is I can never ever remember for the life of me where my machine starts a buttonhole, whether it starts at the bottom or at the top. Now, it starts at the bottom, I think, but every time I do this, I have to test it to see whether that is actually the case, so that I can line things up properly, because you can see you've got these kind of markers in the foot there. So that you can line up the buttonhole. And the other problem that I always have is my thread breaking when I'm sewing my buttonhole. So I'm going to sew it on a very slow speed on this practice piece of fabric first and see what happens. Okay, so the practice one seemed to go quite well. I've just popped a pin at the bottom and the top of the buttonhole because I'm going to cut it open with my seam ripper, and what I don't want to happen is for the seam ripper to actually rip through the top or the bottom of the buttonhole that I've created. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do this with one hand. Let me pop. Okay, so we're all the way up to the top and all the way up to the bottom. I'm just going to take the pins out. I don't have a tripod, in case you can't tell. So is it any wonder that I'm struggling? And then what I just do is I check that the button that I want to use fits through the buttonhole, which it does. So these are just some buttons. Whoops, these are just some buttons from my stash that I'm going to pop in here. There's a bit of paint on the table there. See, toddlers. She's not a toddler, she's a 5-year-old. What am I talking about? So I'm going to see if I can now sew all of the buttonholes on the pajama top. I am quite frankly amazed that I've managed to do all of these without any mishaps. I usually end up having to unpick something because a thread's broken or something's not the right length or whatever. Yeah, so I don't know why it's gone right today. Maybe it's just a fluke. It might actually be that I'm using a new needle in my machine, so the needle is plenty sharp enough, but I need to slit those now, and then I'm going to put the elastic into the waistband, hopefully before I go and can't even speak, before I go and collect Eloise from school. There we are. So I've popped the elastic into the waistband now, and I just wanted to say I put off using elastic and elasticated waistbands for a long time because I thought they were really difficult to do. This is possibly the easiest garment I have ever made. Basically all I've had to do is fold over the top to create a channel, sew it down, which I did from the inside because I just found it easier, leave a little gap at the back to feed your elastic through, and that's kind of it really. And you can play about with these gathers to make them a little bit more even as you're going along. So I am going to have to go and pick Eloise up from school in about 10 minutes, so I'll try these on her when she gets in and hopefully she's happy with them. Do you like your new pyjamas, Eloise?
Yes.
Why do you like them?
Because Mummy made them.
And what did you choose?
The buttons.
The buttons. What's your favourite part of them?
The flowers and the fabric and the buttons. And everything like that.
Are they nice and comfy?
Yeah.
Do you think you might wear them for bed tonight?
Yes. And Christmas Eve.
And Christmas Eve.
And Christmas Day.
Why? What happens on Christmas Eve?
Santa comes.
No.
Yes, he does.
He doesn't.
He says, if Santa doesn't come, it won't be special. And Christmas is when Jesus gets older and older and older and older and older until he gets back to 151.80.
Slight misunderstanding of the Christmas story there, I think. Have you got anything else that you'd like to say?
I love my new pajamas from Mummy.
Okay, you can say anything about anything though. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah.
What would you like to say?
I like meeting Santa.
You like meeting Santa?
Yeah. Once we found that Santa made a little message because Alexa found Santa and a phone number.
Oh yeah, Alexa likes to ring Santa, doesn't she?
Yeah, they're friends.
But he never answers the phone, does he?
No, he just leaves a little message at the side of his phone.
Yeah. Right, Mummy's going to turn the camera off now. Was there anything you'd like to say to the people who watch?
Yeah. I just wanted to talk a little bit more.
Oh, go on then.
Did you know that I met Santa and I saw donkeys there.
Wow.
And I didn't see Rudolph.
Oh, right.
Rudolph has a red nose and beep, 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 beep. And I like seeing Santa again,
Yeah.
again. I'm going to see Santa in school.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay then.
Wait, next week Santa's going to come to school.
Okay.